I want to get started right at 3:30. I will give you a little bit of background. We did a pilot program this fall where we worked with FBS and FCS coordinators and analysts. And what we did was we basically mapped what was a priority for them and how they looked at scouting. And the number one thing that, whether it was an offense or a defense, the defensive guys, it was all based on protections. We called it the tip of the spear. What was the most important thing and what did they game plan off of that? It wasn't the tip of the spear for an offensive coach, but it was an offensive coordinator, and I loved it. He basically came in and said, I want to know where the defense is most vulnerable. And he didn't have a way to do it. So we built a tool for him to use, and he used it. And I know he got benefit out of it. He liked it. I know there was a couple of games specifically where it found where, it looked at a lot more than we're going to look today because he has access to a lot more data. But it was a good tool for him. It pinpointed the exact parts where a defense was weak, and then he could really pinpoint and attack those vulnerabilities over and over. So with that, I want to show you what our version is for this for high school coaches and take what we learned at the FBS and FCS level and apply it to high school, small college level, because you guys use Huddle. And so this is all built kind of based off of that. PFF has, I think it's upwards of 266 data points per play. So there's a lot you can do there. In high school with Huddle, you really have 16. Some guys may go crazy with 20, but it's around 16 data points that most of you have. And what we're trying to do is say, how can we think in an obvious way, solve problems and with an obvious solution without being complex and expensive, and just looking at it from an obvious standpoint. So that's what I want to show you now. Okay, so again, we're taking the obvious approach, low cost, low investment to maximize your offensive production in 2026. So if we look at that and we say, okay, what's the most basic way that we can gain more yards, get more conversions, and ultimately score more points without making wholesale changes to your offense? How can I go through and do this? And so what we have proven through our work in the fall with an FCS school, we know that just identify where the defense is weakest, your opponent's defense, where they're weak. And then also, conversely, is identify where they're pretty strong. And if you can do those two things, now you can attack, when you can get them into a position where they're weak and you can attack it. And then where they're pretty stout, you can try and avoid those areas. So the last 3 years, we have been working with high school coaches, small college and FBS and FCS coordinators and coaches and analysts, really learning how they do it, helping them, trying to find solutions for this. And these are three of the big kind of mistakes we've seen, and it goes at all levels. But number one is just assigning a play a good or bad kind of moniker globally. And there's a lot of bias there. It's a lot of anchoring bias, whether maybe it's a recency bias. The first time you ran the play of the season, it lost you 3 yards. And then you didn't want to run it much, but you did 13, 14 other times throughout the season. And when you look at it, you go, wow, that was actually a really good play. I had one coach I was doing analysis for during the season. And I said, how come you don't run this play more? This is incredible. I mean, it was really good. I think he'd ran it 15 times, not a lot. And it was the median yards on the play was like 8 or 9. And the explosive rate was north of 30%. I said, why don't you run this more? And he says, I hate the play. I said, why? And he goes, I just hate it. So you have some of those, we just kind of put our human elements into it and just assign something good or bad globally without really knowing all the details that are on there. The other one, in the second and third bullets here, they really are kind of one, they're kind of together. But what we have really found is that when making decisions using tendencies or general statistics without putting it into context can be kind of a dangerous, kind of put yourself at risk in terms of being successful. Let me give you an example of this. So this is a report we ran called the defensive vulnerability. If you look here, I'm going to kind of walk you through this, but it says here at the top, IZ, inside zone, 11 plays. I don't know how many games this is. I imagine it's probably 1 or 2 games. But this defense defended inside zone for 11 plays. And you can see here that the AYPP is just average yards per play was 3.8. The median was 3, and the explosive rate was 9.1%. And they did not have any negative yards on the play. So if you look at this as an offensive coach, you may look at them defending inside zone and say, okay, they're pretty good here in this situation. Hold them to 3 yards, low explosive rates. It's pretty good. But when we look deeper, right, and we start to dig down, what we found in this data set is of those 11 plays, they ran an odd front in 7 of the 11 and an even front in 4 of the 11. Now, these aren't real deep numbers here, but they're going to give you somewhat of an idea that's there. What you'll find is when they went to odd, inside zone overall increased. So the average yards per play went from 3.8 to 5, median went from 3 to 5, and the explosive rate climbed from 9 to 14. But what we did find here is that when they went inside zone to the boundary, when the defense was in odd, it jumps up in an odd front from 3.8 yards to 6.3, and the median almost twice as much from 3 to 5.5, and then the explosive rate jumped from 9 to 25%. So it shows you that when you dig deeper, you can find where sometimes a play can be much better than in other situations or scenarios and how you run it. And then against even here, it'll show you that the average is even, that they're pretty good in even. If they're in an even front, they're giving up 1.8 average yards, the median's 1.5, no explosives. And they've done pretty good with this. So you can see here that this, without knowing any other background or watching any of the film, you may not know if this defense knows, since they're running a lot more odd than even, they may not know that their even is better against inside zone than their odds. Okay, so here's what we believe is that weakness and strength only exists in context. If you know the context of the statistics of the play, the formation, the direction of the play, field or boundary, or odd in the fronts, odd or even, then what you find is that you can really put it into context to figure out where either you're good or where your defense is good, the defense you're facing is stout, or they have weak points that are there. And again, FCS, FBS, they have plus 250 points. So they can get into a lot more. But a high school coach, small college coach, we know you're limited in time. We know there's a lot of information you can pull just out of play name, formation, field and boundary, which is based off of hash marks and play direction, and then the defense's front odd or even. So what we're really looking at when we look at that report, we're looking at high explosive rates, right, to identify the vulnerabilities, high explosive rates, high medians, yards, average yards, and that low negative play rate. And we want to see that by play and formation breakdown that's there. So how do you find it? What we have generally found, again, we've been doing this for 3 years now. There's really 3 ways to do it. You can use traditional analytical software that's out there. It's expensive. Some of it's pretty easy to use. Some of it's expensive. I don't know if any of those will actually do what we're going to show you here how to do today. Have no idea. Don't look at them. I don't know if Hudl does any of this either. Then the other way to do it is, and we've done this too, is we have manually sorted spreadsheets. We did that for about a year and kind of getting to where we are now. It's good, works, gets you close in the ballpark, about 80% there, 50, 80% there. But it is time consuming. Not sure it's something you want to do on a Saturday morning or a Sunday on the weekend, just kind of doing that. Some coaches we've seen, not a lot, but some build very elaborate custom spreadsheets that tell them it's like a dashboard. If you've ever seen one, they're beautiful. And if you've ever done one, hats off to you. Those things are great. Once you get them built, easy to use, time consuming to put in, and you have to kind of know some of the, pivot tables and things like that with spreadsheets. What we have done is built a much faster way to do all of this. And I want to say this here because I don't want to sound like a salesperson. I'm not. 99% of you on this call today are X&O Labs members. And I want to tell you that this is part of what your membership is. It's already there. It's ready to go for you to use. And that is when you go to our website, we have three sections to the site. We have the lab, that's where we have thousands of clinic reports, research reports, drill reports housed, easy to find over there. We've got the film room. That's where we have, thousands of game clips with great navigation on that. And we've just added scouting analytics. And this is what we're leaning and starting to move towards, which are one-off report generators. You download your huddle data in a spreadsheet, you upload it to one of these, and it kicks out a report almost instantly. And with this one, we have built one that's called the Defensive Vulnerability Report. On the right here, you can see up the top, you just click on that scouting analytics on our website. Then you click on the defensive vulnerability. It's going to explain the report. You log in, and it's going to pop up right underneath it once you log in, and it's going to look like what you see there on the right. All you do to use this is just enter the school that you're scouting, their defense, and then you just upload the game data on a spreadsheet. That's either CVS or Excel files, and you instantly get a pretty detailed report. And if you guys have any feedback on this, let me know. So there's two sections to the report. First thing you're going to see is this overall defensive vulnerability. It's going to let you know how many defensive snaps are in that data set. Okay, so it doesn't count defensive snaps that had penalties, things like this. It's just looking at the defensive snaps that are there. It's going to tell you overall what the average, what that defense gave up. Okay, so it's going to give you average yards, median yards, explosives, negatives. Then it's going to break it out and give you the same data for run and the same data for pass. But with pass, it's going to give you the completion rate. So you're going to get a good baseline of that defense that you're scouting against and you're facing. You're going to get a pretty good idea of where they are in defense and a good baseline that you can compare other things to. Then the second part of the report, and this is where it gets into. When you scout, as long as you're tagging and putting offensive plays in, formation, hash, play, direction, and I think fronts and coverage, then you're going to get everything you need in this report. What it's going to show you is it's going to break down every offensive play they defended that's in that data set. You do 3 games, you do a whole season. It's going to put everything in there, and you're consistent with your play naming and your formation names. It's going to tell you what every play did, like a statistical analysis of every play, run and pass. It's going to give you, if you can see up here, those 11 plays we saw earlier. It's going to give you the average, the median, the explosive, and the negative, right? Then it's going to give you the direction, the overall direction. Then it's going to tell you by formation and direction. So every formation that play was ran in, it's going to do that. And then it's going to tell you by whatever front they were in. It's going to give you the overall. So inside zone here against odd, that's what they gave. And then it's going to give it to you in a direction. So you always have a baseline to compare to be able to say, hey, this is better or worse. This is good. This is how it works in there. So how do you use it? We know that at high school, you guys have a limited amount of time, and very simple to do. When you are done tagging all of your competitors' defensive plays in, you download that data file. It's optional if you want to put their name in here on the opponent's defense. Then all you do is drag and drop that file right in that section. And all it's going to do very quickly is give you that report instantly. And it's that fast. And I'm going to show you how to do it here in just a second, but that's where that is. But this is only half of the equation that's there. Knowing their weakness is very good. Now you know you can go through that analysis. You can start to look at it and see in these fronts, these formations, these directions, this is where we know they're weakest. But we also want to know that where we are, where our offense is. And then if you can match those two things together, it's pretty good. So we have the explosive play DNA report right next to it. Same model, same everything that you're going to do. And when you put your offense, so you're going to download your offensive file, could be for the season, however many games you want to put in there. It's going to give you pretty much the exact same analysis that's there. It's going to give you the total offensive plays that were in there. Then it's going to give you statistics for your overall offense, which are average, median, explosive, and negative. Breaking it out, same for run and pass. Pass, it'll include the completion that's there. And then it's going to go and break down every play that you have in your playbook. So here you can see this one. This one's Badger. It was ran 29 times, and you can see the average, the median, the explosive, and the negative. And then you're going to get it by play direction, field boundary, and any other variations that are there. And then it's going to break everything down by formation. So you can see which formation has this been best in. And again, if you can then have this, and then you compare what your opponent's defense is, now you can start to be able to put some of this stuff. If you know where the defense is weakest and where your offense is strongest, now you can match those up and start to go through and plan and game plan accordingly. Let me just show you real quick here. So again, at the top of the site, coaching or scouting analytics, you click on the defensive vulnerability report. Once you log in, it tells you about it, gives you the instructions. It's right there. If I want to put in Lincoln High School here, just for my own reference, click, it's going to pull it up here. I can go through, put the defensive data in there, and the report is done that fast. And it's going to go through, it's going to say this is the run defensive vulnerability. It's going to go play by play. If you have any unknown plays in, it's going to call them out that way, every play. And then it's going to get down in here to pass defense. Very similar. It's going to give you play direction, but it's also going to include in the completion percentage as well. All right. We tried to keep that at 25 minutes. I think we're in there 20 minutes. Any questions from anybody?
Well, we're all a bunch of old dogs on so how easy, apparently it's not too hard to run to download that report from Huddle.
Yeah. It's pretty simple. Do you use Classic or do you use the new Huddle?
Well, I prefer the Classic myself.
Okay.
Because like I say, we've all been around forever, but yeah. I've used the other, yes.
Kuchar, you're on this call. We're getting ready to release specific step-by-step instructions on how to download those files. It's very easy to do. That's there. We'll put all those together and we'll make sure. Mike, I don't know if you have like an abbreviated version for the Classic that you want to share.
No, we did those videos, right? We're going to put those tutorials out to everybody.
Yep.
I mean, it's really simple. You just go on a playlist, coach, whatever playlist. Each playlist is a game, and then there's 3 dots to the right of it up top, right where the column section is. You click on the 3 dots, and you could export it right to an Excel file. So there's one more step involved with the new Huddle, which I don't use as well. I use the Classic. I'm an old dog too, but there's one more step with the new Huddle that you'd have to do to download, which we have in the tutorials when Travis puts it out.
Okay. That sounds great.
Anything else? I mean, it was pretty simple.
No, Mike or Travis, thank you. I mean, this is Steve. And again, I've been a member of your site continuously for a long time. I've even written articles for your site in the past with Mike. But this new, what you have developed here has re-upped my membership subscription to your site. And it's awesome. So all you guys that, again, I'm an old dog and it is great information and very well, easy to read and easy to implement. And I'm excited about using it next year for my teams.
Good. Well, we have plenty more coming up. Lots of them. Steve, you and I have talked about them. So a lot of things coming up and we'll get them out and get them launched and get them going pretty soon.
This is great.
Awesome. Sounds great. I look forward to going back to some of our season games and maybe doing some practice with it. So
Yes, we'll get those instructions out for you and get those done pretty quickly. And then we'll have all those things ready to go for you. And then we'll get the new report generators built and online, and we'll have probably north of 30 of them by the time the season starts.
Wow. So
I will tease one other thing. We are working with a couple of FCS and FBS coaches who are working with us to build their version of what they would want if they were high school, small college coaches using Huddle, 16 forms of data. So we have a couple of those guys locked up and we're building those reports. And I will also say that we have, let's see if he is on. We have somebody we're actually working with 2 people in the military intelligence community. And we're going to see if we can't, we're learning how to apply data collection, analysis, and converting that into intelligence a military way. And once we have that ready to go, we'll share those with you as well. So good stuff coming up later this winter. and this spring. If you guys have any questions, my email's on the bottom of all of those report generators. Send me an email or send us to research@Exyno Labs. We'd love to work with you and talk with you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.